On a busy Friday night in February 2016, inside a quiet room in Dhaka, Bangladesh, a printer stopped working inside the central bank. No paper, no printout, no alarms, just silence. The officer on duty looked at it, wrote a note, fix it in the morning, and went home. That single decision would cost his country $81 million, and it almost cost them $1 billion. The Bangladesh Bank wasn't a small branch. It was the central bank of an entire nation, holding billions in foreign reserves connected to the global financial system. That night, while the building sat empty, someone on the other side of the world was sending transfer requests through that system. Not for thousands, not for millions, nearly $1 billion. Most of it was stopped, but not all of it. And what stopped the rest wasn't a device, it wasn't a security team, it was a spelling mistake. The attack didn't start in February. It started a full year earlier. Someone inside the bank received an email. It looked like a job application. Harmless. They opened it. That was the last mistake they'd ever know they made. Hidden inside the file was a piece of malware, a Trojan, that embedded itself silently into the bank's systems. It didn't steal anything. Not yet. It watched. For 12 months, it recorded how employees logged in, how transfers were approved, what the bank's messages looked like, how the system readjusted itself. By the time the attackers were ready to move, they didn't need to break in. They were the bank. And once a system starts trusting you, it stops questioning you, which is exactly what they were counting on. On the night of February 4th, 2016, the attackers made their move. Using stolen credentials that looked completely legitimate, they sent 35 transfer requests through SWIFT. Together, those requests totaled $951 million. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York received them, processed them, trusted them. Because why wouldn't it? They came from the Bangladesh Bank's own system, with the right codes. 5 transfers were approved. $81 million moved into accounts in the Philippines. For about 30 minutes, the heist was working perfectly. And the people who could have stopped it? It was a weekend. Bangladesh was closed. New York was processing on autopilot. The attackers had chosen the one window in the entire week where the world wasn't watching. But request number 6 had a problem. One of the transfers was headed to an organization called the Shalika Foundation, a legitimate-sounding firm in Sri Lanka. But whoever typed the request made one small error. They wrote FANDATION, not foundation, but FANDATION. The Deutsche Bank in Germany was routing the transfer. A human reviewer saw it, paused, flagged it for manual review. That pause triggered a chain reaction. The other pending transfers were looked at more carefully. One was flagged because it was going to a private entity, not a bank. Another because the routing details didn't add up. Within hours, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York was on the phone with Bangladesh. But Bangladesh's phones weren't being answered. It was the weekend. The bank was closed, and the printer that would have printed the physical records of every transaction was still sitting in that locked room. By the time anyone picked up, 30 transfers worth $850 million had been frozen. But the 81 million? Already gone. Think about that for a moment. One word, one missing letter. That's the difference between $81 million and $951 million. But the story doesn't end with the theft. The $81 million that made it through didn't sit still. Within hours, it was split across accounts in the Philippines, withdrawn in cash, converted into casino chips at the Soler Resort in Manila, then played at baccarat tables, then cashed out again. Not because the attackers were gamblers, but because casinos, at the time, were exempt from the Philippines' anti-money laundering laws. The digital trail didn't just disappear. It was designed to disappear. In under 48 hours, $81 million went from a government terminal in Dhaka to anonymous cash in Manila. And most of it was never recovered. So who did this? That answer took investigators years. And when it came, it pointed somewhere almost no one expected. The digital fingerprints left behind were eventually traced to a group known as the Lazarus Group, a cyber unit widely believed to operate under the direction of the North Korean government. This wasn't just criminal hacking. This was a nation using cyber warfare to fund itself by stealing directly from the global financial system. The US Department of Justice later indicted 3 North Korean nationals in connection with the attack. And of the $81 million stolen, only about $15 million was ever returned. The rest vanished. But here's what makes this story bigger than just one heist. The Bangladesh bank wasn't the only target. The same groups using the same methods attacked banks in Vietnam, Taiwan, and India. The financial network, the system that moves trillions of dollars at a BIOS every single day, had been turned into a weapon. And the reason it worked was something far simpler. Trust. The system trusted the credentials. The Fed trusted the requests. The bank trusted the printer would keep working. And one officer trusted that whatever had gone wrong could wait until morning. Every layer of security had one thing in common: a human assumption that everything was fine. In the end, this wasn't a story about hackers. It was a story about how the most secure-looking systems in the world are held together by human decisions. A clicked email, a locked room, an unanswered phone, and one word spelled wrong. If a nation's central bank, connected to the global financial system, protected by layers of security, can be compromised by a single email, what does that say about every institution you trust with your money, your data? The scariest part of this story isn't that it happened. It's that right now, somewhere in the world, someone is opening another email, and they have absolutely no idea.